Absolutely. Thanks, Vlad. Yeah, guys, my name's Jeff Sophiea. Some of you may have spoken with me before or seen me on a webinar or maybe even seen me at an event now. I've been with the company for over 8 years, and I'm one of the partners here at IdealTraits. I truly love what I do. That's providing value with this to as many agents as possible, not just with hiring, but try to provide you with resources like with Vlad here, who can help you with onboarding team members and teaching you how to hire top level producers, right? So Vlad and I, we connected a couple years ago, and we've been great partners just by doing webinars together. And I hope you get a lot of today's webinar. I'm sure Vlad will provide my contact info or just throw it in the chat. And Vlad is someone that here at the company, he's been a super user of IdealTraits and someone that we recommend when it comes to using his products too. And Vlad, I'm sure if we have some time, we'll go over what he's got going on, and hopefully you can talk about the insurance boot camp too, Vlad. I would love for you to go over that because I'll be there, and I think that's going to be really exciting stuff. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Vlad.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for that. Look, folks, I'm not here to sell you anything. I want to help you hire great team members. And anytime you do a webinar title that says how to hire 3 high-performing superstars in less than 90 days, that's a very ambitious title. You better have some good stuff to share, and I feel like we will do that today. I want to make a commitment to have you wrap up this next 60 minutes and say, wow, that was the best training around hiring that I've been a part of. And if so, let me know at the end. So with that said, I want to jump right into it. For those who are not familiar with me, a lot of you use my sales process called a 6-step script to the one called close. It's a script that I created when I first started with the company I was working with 8 years ago. I started off as a producer, was calling old leads, people who are not shopping for insurance. And through trial and error, making 15,000 phone calls in a small amount of time, I developed a sales process where I could call an old lead, get them on the phone, keep them on the phone, and close them and get referrals. Once I started writing over 150 policies per month, people started reaching out to me and asking me to coach their team because I was a single producer in an agency doing that, not as an agency as a whole. So this sales process has been refined over the last 8 years, and I've helped agency owners all across the nation implement the sales process in their agency. And one of the most, and through that, I came up with this company called Insurance Sales Lab 6 years ago. And with that, we've been helping agency owners. One of the most common things that agency owners would always ask me for is any tips and tricks on hiring. So right around the same time that I started doing workshops focusing on the sales training, I started working with agency owners from Farmers, Allstate, Independent, and helping them hire great team members. And we've tried so many different strategies. And more recently, with my agency that I opened up last year, a little over 8 months ago, I've put a lot of resources and time into figuring out what works, what doesn't work. So you're going to hear what's working today. And this is something that will evolve over time. But today I want to focus on what's working right now. And a lot of what we're going to cover is still going to be relevant years from now. In the last 8 months, I've hired 10 A players, 10 great team members in the last 8 months that we've kept. We've hired a lot more than 10, but you'll determine here and realize later on this webinar that we don't keep people on that we don't like. A lot of people interview really great. They show all the right signs, but in the first couple of days, if this person isn't who we thought they were, we part ways pretty quickly. But all that said, we have 10 team members right now, 8 sales producers. A lot of them are pretty recent, and we have more coming on. So this is a process that works as long as you use it. So that said, one thing I want to just say right off the bat is you got to hire based on this premise. If you ignore this part, you're not going to be able to scale your agency without your direct involvement on sales and service. And that's this: only hire A players. So if you hire C players, you're never going to hit your ambitious goals that you've set. There's C, B, and A players. C players, you're going to have to do all the work yourself. B players are those team members who show up on time, they leave on time, they'll do everything they need to do that you ask them to do, but they're not going to go above and beyond and make others better. So to me, an A player is one who can move mountains for me. And the way I look at that is someone who can hit their goals without me being there. over the last 8 months since I've started, I've put very little time in my agency because I've been focusing on Insurance Sales Lab, and my team members have been able to run really without me being there because they are great people that we've brought on. And all that said, the big thing that I look for is in A players is who can make everybody better, not just improve themselves, who's going to make the entire culture and agency better. That's who I consider to be an A player. And if they're not an A player, we don't hire them. Okay, so that said, A player, someone who has the potential to also be a top 1% performer in the insurance industry. I'll run through this calculation real quick. I like to do this exercise. So the cost of hiring the wrong person, and that's what we will ultimately want to avoid, is hiring the wrong person. Jeff, as you know, with a lot of people you talk to, the reason agency owners are fearful with hiring more people is because the last few people they hired didn't work out and they paid a lot of money for that. So we want to prevent that from happening. So base salary, Jeff, I don't know what you're seeing, but I'm seeing anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 across the nation as a monthly base. Let's say that's your base salary, $2,500. You put payroll taxes in there, that's $250. So we're not even going to count hours spent on training or leads that you put in to that team member. You would have spent $2,750 per month for that team member. Multiply that by 90 days that your team member is with you. That's $8,200 that you wasted. $8,250 that you wasted that you'll never get back. The only thing you'll have is experience. So that's what I want you to avoid, is hiring the wrong people. And the last thing I'll say to that is when you make mistakes in hiring the wrong people, and then you have 2-3 people on your team, and you know that they're not A players, you're going to be fearful with letting them go because you're going to feel like, man, that's all I got. I don't have anybody else to replace them with. So hopefully by the end of today's webinar, you'll have more clarity on how to hire great team members. So the 4 parts we're going to focus on today's scorecard. That's defining the job that needs to get done. Secondly is generating significant flow of applicants. I'll show you a way that you can get over 100 applicants per month. The third part is how to go through the interview process. And the fourth part is how to get the person to actually start working in your agency. A lot of agents I talk to, they get them to that point where they give them a job offer, but then the candidate doesn't sign. So that said, one book I highly recommend is this book called Who by Jeff Smart and Randy Streets. This is a book that I read years ago. I highly recommend to anyone who's going to take recruiting seriously. Jeff, you should read through this as well if you haven't already. But a lot of big Fortune 500 companies use this as their guide to hire executives. It's a little overkill for what we do as insurance agents as far as the vetting process, but a lot of the key principles of what I do now were extracted from that book. So let's jump into the first part, defining the job that needs to get done. When I look at my sales producers, there are 3 things that I need to clearly define. I don't want my producers to just show up and give it their best. I need to be very clear on what the essence of the job is and what their expectations are. So their job as a sales producer is to acquire new clients to our agency by selling auto and home insurance and other complementary products. The bare minimum for them to stay in our agency is to acquire 20 new households or $25,000 in premium by their 3rd month. If they're not doing that, they can't be here. A lot of them can achieve that even sooner. And then these are the non-negotiable competencies that I have. Positive personality. If I feel like during the interview process, this person isn't exuding positivity, everything that they say is just has a negative outlook, I don't want that. I've had to let someone go from our team just for being overly negative on everything. They would have been great as far as production goes, but one bad person can just be a cancer in the agency. Coachable and open to constructive criticism. We do a lot of coaching, a lot of training. If someone can't roll with that, they can't be in our agency. I also need someone who has excellent written and verbal communication skills, someone who has integrity. I always tell my new producers and CSRs that your first time that you lie to me on the job is going to be your last day in the job. So don't play in the gray. Always be upfront and honest. If you make a mistake, just own up to it. I want them to be intrinsically motivated to be successful, and I also want them to be resourceful. I don't want them running out of their workstation asking other people for help before they took a couple of minutes to try to find the answer on their own first. Okay, so that's my outline of what I'm looking for in a salesperson as far as what outcomes they need to produce. CSR, very similar. I want people to stay with us for life, for as long as possible. So two things that we expect from our CSRs is, I'll go to the second one first. Respond to all client inquiries within 1 business day. We cannot ever have a task be left to the second day. So we need to respond, even if we don't find a resolution, we have to respond back to the client saying, hey, we're working on it. We'll get back to you tomorrow. That's a non-negotiable. And the second one is they have to get 20 Google reviews or referrals every month. So that said, for account manager, that is the expectation. Okay, so now that we know what job needs to get done and who we're hiring for and how that's going to be set up, let's go into the second part. How do we get a lot of people to apply, generating a significant flow of applicants? And Jeff, I'd like for you to chime in here in just a moment on some of the things that we've talked about in regards to ideal traits. As we're transitioning to the second part, I want to know in the chat, put in if you have ideal traits or not. Just give me a yes or no. In the chat, let me know. Do you have ideal traits? Yes or no? Okay, looks like most people are. Okay, hopefully by the time we're done, you're going to be a super user of it. Looks like Norman, you'd need to get an ideal traits account. Okay, so if you want to hire 1 person on per month, you need to have at least 100 applicants coming in per month. Let me know in the chats, how many applicants do you have coming in per month right now? In the chat, let me know, how many applicants do you have coming in right now? On average, look at the last 90 days per month. Okay, I see 2, I see 0. Jeff, what are you seeing there?
0 to 1, 2 to 3, 10 to 20. Troy said 0, 10, 5 to 10. It's kind of all over the place. 20, 25, 40.
Yep. Look, you're not going to be able to hire a lot of great team members if you don't have a lot of leads. Think of it kind of like working internet leads. You're going to, you can't close 100 policies a month with 20 leads a month, right? You have to open up the top of the funnel. So 100 applicants per month, that will generally result in about 10 phone interviews. That will result in about half of those people showing up for an in-office interview. The other half, you won't even invite them to an in-office interview after talking to them over the phone. The third part is once you do meet with them, you're not going to offer a job to everyone. So you're going to offer a job to about 2 to 3 of those that you meet in person. And then not everybody's going to accept a job offer. So that's just the reality. You're not going to be a good for everyone, and not everybody's going to be a good fit for you. So that said, best case scenario, for every 50 applicants you get, you'll get 1 hire, but generally it's 100 applicants that you need per month for you to have 1 hire. So everybody who's on this call, I hope you're not looking to just settle for 1 new hire, but you're looking for several. When you post a job, once you're at 100 applicants, don't stop your job post. Just have it continue bringing in applicants. Okay, so how do you get 100 applicants to apply? First, what I do, and last month, Jeff, you were here in Dallas and we went over this as part of our workshop. We post our jobs on Ideal Traits, and then we sponsor them on Indeed. Now, if you post something on Ideal Traits, the job is going to go organically on Indeed, ZipRecruiter, a lot of job boards. But if you can put some money behind that, then you're going to get a lot more applicants. Jeff, what did you see as a result of those who were at our workshop and published the job? How many applicants did people get?
It's actually kind of nuts, right? Because it takes Vlad up to 24 hours for the ads to go live. Some of those ads were going live right away. And I don't know if Mariah Gates is on this call, but remember, she got over 100. Now, she did remote, but she sponsored the remote ad and got hundreds of applicants to apply. And she was counting them off every minute that we were speaking. So yeah, it was exciting and very collaborative. And it was, she had a lot of people to go over, and she said she's already hired a couple, and that was within a month, that's just based on how many applicants she's getting, right, Vlad?
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to name drop the other people, but there's 2 people that immediately come to mind that I reached out to and connected to in the last week. Both of them have hired. One of them has hired 1 A-player. The other one hired 4, all in the Illinois agents, Jeff. is the one that
Yeah.
hired 4 people. And she's never seen anything like that before. So here's something that's may be new to a lot of people, but I'll show you how you can use ChatGPT to help you craft a really good job post. Jeff, do you know anything about ChatGPT?
For sure. I've been telling agents, but I would also say you might just add this yourself. They're not going to be able to probably personalize it like you would actually writing the ad. So for sure, I think use it as an advantage, not a threat, but then combined it with some personalization too.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to show everybody. Who here is familiar with ChatGPT? Let me know in the chat. Drop in yes if you know about it, or no if you don't know what it is.
Okay, so we got a couple no's. This will be good.
Okay, all right. So
more no's than yeses.
Okay, so in Google, type in ChatGPT, and then you click right here, this first one, OpenAI. And then once you open that up, click right here where it says try ChatGPT. You're going to have to create an account. And once you create an account, it'll look something like this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, write a compelling job post for my insurance agency that I can post on. Can everybody see okay? Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I can post on Indeed. And so the way you prompt ChatGPT to do anything is you got to talk to it like a human. Emphasize that our culture, career, growth opportunities.
Gotcha.
And our compensation plan. Make this detailed and exciting. Boom. Look at what it does. Jeff, what are you seeing here?
It's going nuts.
Here, let me let it load and then I'll zoom out a little bit. So it's writing the job post for you. If you're just going to use the same job post that everybody else is doing, you're not going to have really good results. So let's go through this real quick. What does it say here as the first?
We're seeking highly motivated and ambitious individuals.
Yeah, so we value our employees and strive to create culture of excellence, teamwork, and mutual respect. So remember, the goal here is not to make it brief. The goal here is to make it clear on what you're doing. If you're looking for a career in insurance industry with dynamic and forward-thinking company that offers ample opportunity for advancement and a competitive compensation package, then we want to hear from you. Culture, career growth opportunities, compensation plan. I love how it breaks it up. So culture, our agency is committed to fostering a supportive, collaborative, and positive work environments. Remember, it's not pulling information from the internet and making it like just scraping it and putting it in here. It's original content. So you can just copy and paste this. Okay, so career growth opportunities, compensation plan, requirements. So is there anything that you would change here about this job post, Jeff?
Yeah, so I love how it breaks down. I love the wording they use. My only thing is I would keep it more personalized to talk about the location. If you have a certain brand, whether it's Farmers, Allstate, independent, what carriers, and then talk about your specific culture a little bit more. I don't mind what they have here, but I just think it can be a little bit more specific than the jargon, if that makes sense, Vlad.
Okay, give me a prompt, Jeff, for around culture.
Friendly work environment, where it's more, let's just say it's an agency that's more relaxed. They don't work on the weekends, something like that.
So, okay, emphasize that we work weekdays only, weekends are off.
Unlimited PTO.
I think most agencies won't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. This one's going to be good. Put in frequently ask questions into this job post. You know how when you're on Amazon buying something, as the FAQs, frequently asked questions, well, why not put them here in the job post?
Yeah.
What are the questions that you're seeing here?
Do I need previous insurance experience to apply for this position? I do like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can talk about how you'd pay for the licensing reimbursement, or like you were talking about what Madison does is she follows up with the candidates to help them get licensed, right?
Right. Yeah. Look, folks, this isn't hard. This is a free tool to use. You saw me use it. Don't overthink it. Just take this section and then take that section from the bottom and create a very good job post. Let me show you why agents do not get a lot of applicants. So you are in, let's just say Detroit, right? Let's just say Detroit, Texas, Detroit.
Can you zoom in a little bit more, Vlad?
Yes.
There we go.
Detroit, Michigan. We're going to look.
You doing that for me, Detroit, Michigan?
Yeah, I'm looking for a job for you.
Appreciate that.
All right. So look, if you're one of these people that pop up, I apologize, but this is public information. So let's look at this first one right here. Insurance sales agent. Job type temporary contract. That would turn me off if I, like, is this a temporary position or a permanent position? People aren't usually looking for temporary positions. So I would skip that one altogether. But let's say that aside, job description. I'm going to have everybody take 1 minute and read through this. It sounds like a lot of work. Responsibilities, job qualifications, benefits include, okay. A little bit about the company. All right. Give this a score of 1 to 10. 10 being like, dang, I would apply here right now. It's so engaging. It got me. It stood out from everything else. And 1 is like, I don't even know where I'm applying at. Give me a score.
I hope he's not on here.
Yeah. Blue insurance agency. I'm sorry. Not really. Because hopefully you can make it better after this. Okay.
Yeah, I like the feedback.
Yeah. Who we are, what you'd be doing. I already like that more. What it takes. So I like that this company made it a little different. Okay. All right. Let's go to another one right here. Yeah, not a whole lot of, let's look at the State Farm one.
Very
Overview.
chunky.
Yeah, it's terrible formatting. Has all the zip codes in here. Okay.
I hope they notice that. They might not even notice wherever they posted that the format came out bad. And that's why it's always good to check your ads.
Yeah, a lot of people just post and that's it. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to show you, but tell me what you see here as an observation. We have the job description, we have the salary, we have the benefits, we have the responsibilities, we have the requirements, the company description, like all the things you'd expect out of a job post. How is this any different from the other job posts that we just looked at? Like, can someone please in the chat let me know what is different about this job post compared to other ones? Is there anything, if you're a candidate, that you'd look at and say, wow, sign me up at this agency? Is there anything that's different in this job post? Folks, let me know in the chat. Yeah, pretty basic. So if you want mediocre results, put up mediocre job posts. If you want to hire great people and you want to attract a lot of applicants, create a job post that stands out. Put in these frequently asked questions, things that people will want to know. Talk about your compensation, career growth opportunities, culture. Make your job post exciting. So it sounds so obvious, but we just saw a few examples of what generally people post and why they can't find a lot of applicants. Okay, so that is,
That was good.
yeah, I think that, I mean, that in itself could be a game changer for the people who are on this call if they implement that. Okay. So as far as something that you can do for free is you can ask team members for referrals. Not just team members, you can ask clients, you can ask people you know. Simple question: who's the most talented person you know that lives in Detroit? Would they be a good fit for this position in our agency? And then offer them a bonus. Say, look, once we hire them, I'll pay you $500 once they start, and then another $500 after the 90-day probationary period. So in total, you pay them $1,000. Let me know in the chat, who would pay a $1,000 referral bonus if you had a team member that referred an A player to you?
And they went
$1,000.
90 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like it's first day, and I understand that you wouldn't pay after the first day.
Yeah.
And Vlad, a point I'd make here too is to help your team members promote your different positions that are open. I would have a landing page, like a QR code that takes them right to a good looking landing page. You have a video, maybe a logo, and talks about obviously the job role itself where they can apply.
Yep. And you guys help with that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, what I have found with a lot of IdealTraits users is that the IdealTrade system is simple, it's straightforward, but agents aren't using all of the capabilities of it. So your support is free. IdealTraits support. People should reach out and get that set up if they have any questions. Okay. Here's one thing to keep in mind. I saw a lot of people in the comments say, yeah, of course, I'd pay $1,000. So let's see if that's actually true. If you would do that. Worst case scenario, and I'm going to show you here, worst case scenario, if you post a compelling job post, not your average middle of the road job post that we've been seeing over these last few examples, you're going to pay about $20 to $30 per applicant. So if you need 100 applicants and your cost per application is $25, that means you're going to pay $2,500 to get 100 applicants. And from those 100 applicants, you can get one hire. So who would pay $2,500 to hire one A player? So not 1,000, but 2,500. Let me know in the chat. Would you pay $2,500 to hire one A player?
Oh, Danielle, I'm glad you could make it. I think I gave her the wrong time, so I'm glad she was able to.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people say yes. Jackson says not sure. Look, the reality is if you take the job post template that I just showed you in ChatGPT and you create a compelling job post and you sponsor it, even $500 on Indeed, even $500, you're going to get over 100 applicants. You can take that to the bank, $500 per month, give it a monthly recurring budget of $500, put it towards Indeed. You're going to get way over 100 applicants. I've seen that happen over and over again. Let me put it this way. I've never had someone do what we just did, which is create a compelling job post, post it on IdealTraits and sponsor it on Indeed and not get at least 100 applicants when they spent $500. So, okay. Now, the key there is you have to create a compelling job post, not something that everybody else is doing. So that's how you generate a significant flow of applicants. The third part is the interviews. I'm gonna go through the 3 interviews that we do. We have a written interview, phone interview, and an in-office interview. So I'll keep it generally surface level here, but we can dive into it in more detail at the end if anybody has specific questions. So one of the things I love about my IdealTraits account is that when someone applies, there's an assessment, and part of the assessment, besides the personality part, is they have to answer 5 questions. And you pick what questions you want to ask, but these are my 5 questions. And this is an example of someone who applied recently. And let me know if you think this is an A player, a B player, or a C player. Let me know in the chats. How would you categorize this person? An A, B, or C player? Jeff. D player, right? F player. We don't want this person. Why wouldn't you bring this person on?
I think question 2 really throws me off.
Yeah. Making cold calls, delivering bad news. You're going to have to make cold calls. And what I found, Jeff, and it pains me to say this, but I've brought people on who I like their personality, I like their resume, I like their background, but they indicated
Yeah.
that they don't like making cold calls. And when we hired them, within the first couple weeks, they quit. It's oh man, it just frustrates me to this day that I even looked past this. I thought, well, maybe this person is going to make this work. And I even asked them during the interview, I said, look, you put in making cold calls. What do you mean by that? And they always have a good way to
Oh,
overcome.
no. I just meant, yeah.
Yeah. As long as there is a little bit of interest, I'll be fine. It's like, no, if they say that, at least in my experience, I haven't ever had someone make that work. And we've hired a few people like that, unfortunately. And I've talked to many agents. If they say they don't like cold calls, just deactivate
And
them.
I would say, Vlad, like on the ads, I even have a buddy that actually has been working at an Allstate agency who's done really well. And I asked him why he applied to the ad here in Michigan. He said because it said warm leads. So I'm not saying don't promote that you're buying internet leads and have a lot of warm leads to work, but if they're indicating they don't like cold calling, you have to prospect. I don't care how great of a salesperson you are, and you always have a pipeline of referrals. You're going to have to do some cold calls, right, Vlad?
Right. Absolutely. Well, on the flip side, Jeff, here's an example of someone who is an A player. So what motivates you the most? I'm motivated by the desire to beat my last record. My goal is to always make larger deals and see bigger numbers and more clients. This person is what we would consider to be a person who's outcome oriented. They're not really focused on the activity. They're more focused on the outcome. 2 examples of work-related tasks they do not particularly enjoy doing: data entry. I'm a fast typer. I enjoy the process of engaging. A lot of salespeople don't like the data entry part, so I'm going to let that go. But this person has a history of winning. Cup winner, top sales agent, highest daily record for sales, highest monthly record as well. So this person is someone that we want to proceed with and bring into a in-person interview. One thing to keep in mind is that just because they answered in this way, they could be making this up. So you want to follow up with them during the interview and ask for details about these things. Okay. All right. Jackson said, I don't get them to complete the assessment. How can I change questions there? Any thoughts there, Jeff?
Yep. So I'm going to send them an article that shows them exactly how to do it. But just for the people that are on there and wonder the same thing, because it is a tough spot to find, I will say. You go to your settings. So it's a gear, the top, and you're going to go to hiring settings. Then you're going to go to assessment, and you can pick the different positions that you have listed. It allows you to customize the questions there. We have a bank of like 55 questions to choose from, but you also can add your own question if you have one that we don't have in there. So just let us know.
Yeah. Reach out to IdealTraits on that. But the other thing is, if people are not taking the assessment, there's an option to resend it to them. What we've also done, Jackson, is we call people we like. So if we like them based on their resume, we call them, talk to them. And if after the phone interview, this person seems like a good fit, then we have them take the assessment before they come into the in-office interview. So if between the phone interview and the in-office interview, they take the assessment and they come back as a personality that we don't particularly like for a sales position, then we keep the interview pretty short. Okay. Phone interview, I'll show you a few questions that you can screenshot. There's going to be a total of 7 in here. Once I have 7 in here, you can go ahead and screenshot. Question number 1 is, walk me through what you consider to be your professional career to this point. This is basically a question of, go through your resume, beginning to end. And this is your first opportunity to hear how this person communicates. If they can put a sentence together, if they can make themselves sound compelling. If this person doesn't sound compelling and they don't know how to communicate well on the phone, then that's what they're going to sound like when they're on the phone talking to your prospects. So what I have found is a lot of times this is a great first question to determine if you're going to even ask the other questions. So if they bomb this question, then don't even spend time on the next few. What are your long-term career goals? If I determine that this person wants to go to school, if this person still wants to get a nursing degree, or this is just a temporary job, I don't want to bring someone on like that. Third, what are you not interested in doing professionally? The key question here is, what do you not want to do? We're not asking what you're not good at. We're asking, what are you not interested in doing professionally? So if someone says, yeah, I don't want to do the same thing over and over again, if I don't want to make cold calls, if they didn't put that in the written assessment, a lot of times they'll tell you that here. Number 4, we all have things that we're really good at. What are some things that you would say you're really good at professionally? So this is a question around strengths. So Jeff, you personally, what are some things that you're really good at professionally, would you say? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I would say making colleagues and others feel good about themselves, building rapport from a cold start for people that I don't know, and building value for clients and prospects.
Okay, cool. So the next question would be, you don't have to answer this, but none of us are perfect and we all have areas of opportunity. What are some things that you're not good
Processes.
at professionally? Yeah. So this right here, a lot of times people will give you a positive, like, I tend to be very detailed, and sometimes that can slow me down. It's like, all right, we want people who are detailed. What are some things that you're not good at? So they might use a positive as a negative. And like a lot of interesting things come out from this question. Number 6, Jeff, I see that Best Buy is the most recent company that you have here on your resume. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, who did you report to at Best Buy?
Jason Thomas.
Jason Thomas. Okay. So when we talk to Jason Thomas, how would he rate your performance on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being great, 1 being the opposite of that?
A 9. Maybe he's a tiny bit upset that I left the company for another opportunity.
Oh, okay. So you gave me the reason right there, but if you would have just said 9, whatever score they give you, you always want to compliment and say, wow, that's a great score. A 7, that's a great score. A 9, that's a great score. Why would he give you a score of 9? Okay. So you get them to talk about the good, and then you say, okay, what would prevent him from giving you a 10? And then that's when they'll give you, and then you can follow up with, what are those 1 or 2 things that Jason would consider to be your areas that you could improve on to be a 10? A lot of times this question gets more out of them on things that they wouldn't have generally told you, because you're asking them, when we talk to this company. And some people will come back and say, look, I don't want you talking to them because they don't know that I'm interviewing. So you have to be delicate here, but say, this is where, depending on the situation, you can say, look, if we were to talk to your current supervisor, how would they rate you on a scale of 1 to 10? So I have found some really interesting responses. This is one of the most powerful questions that you can ask, that will get you some real insights on who it is that you're talking to. Look, you might be thinking, that's a lot of questions here. I'm okay with that. I'd rather spend 30 minutes on the phone and not hire someone because I learned something in the last 5 minutes of a conversation after 25 minutes of warming up to each other, rather than getting excited in the first 10 minutes, bringing them into an in-person interview, offering them the job, and then letting them go in 90 days. So I would much rather be very careful up front. And this is the last question. You can go ahead and screenshot this. Before I give you an overview of our company and the position that you applied for, walk me through your understanding of what we do as a company and what role and what your role would be if you were hired. This is where I want to see, how much research did they do? And if they say, I really don't know much, and that's what a lot of people say, then you would respond with, okay, like, if you, based on what you remember from the job post, how would you best describe who we are? If they tell you, which most people will tell you, I don't really know, ask a follow-up question. So it'll show you how much research they have done on you. Okay. After all this, if you like them, I schedule an in-person interview right away. I don't send them an email. I schedule an in-person interview right away. Okay. In-office interview. What I do with my Ideal Traits assessments, which, Jeff, do you want to take 60 seconds and explain what the Ideal Traits assessment does and how it works?
I'd love to. Yeah, the Ideal Traits assessment, the goal of it is to help agency owners hire with more logic and interview with more logic versus emotion. When it comes to hiring, we all are at fault to it. That we tend to throw emotion into it. Vlad just gave you an example that he did earlier. And so with the assessment, there's 3 parts. There's a personality profile that there's 16 different outcomes when a candidate takes that assessment. It's already pre-customized. You don't have to do any editing to it. And it's going to give you 1 out of 16 different results. Sales leader, salesperson, closer, persistent. Those are the 4 ones that Vlad looks for. Those are the 4 ones that I recommend when it comes to sales, hiring A players. The second part is the problem solving. See how they think outside the box. There's 15 nonlinear cognitive questions. Not saying if they're a mathematical wizard, but of course, we don't want them, that people in the office that are struggling to think outside the box. And then the last part, Vlad just showed you, there's 5 short answer questions, and you have a bank of 50 different questions to pick and choose from. So all that is going to help you determine if they're a good fit. And starting out, like, we want to make sure they take the assessment too. And I don't know if Vlad's going to get into this, but we do have some theories on how you can increase your completion rate.
Yep. We can cover that towards the end, Q&A.
Sure.
But okay, so ideal traits assessment, it gives you like what, 20 different personalities, right?
16.
16 personalities. So I look for people who are closers, sales producers, sales leaders. Once I have the personality summary, I usually bring that summary into the interview, and I have them read through the results and highlight the things they agree with and cross out things they disagree with. So very simple way to start the interview, where when the candidate takes the assessment, they don't get the results right away. You get the results, but they don't. So when they come in, I usually ask them to review the results, and that's an easy way to start the conversation. Okay, what is most important to you in your next position? So at this point, I would already like them if they're in person interviewing, because I would have gone through the written interview with Ideal Traits. We've done the phone interview, and now it's the in-person interview. What is most important to you in your next position? So this is where I want to know, are there any other disqualifiers? Like if this person says, yeah, I also want to have flexibility where I can do real estate part-time, or whatever they might say. I want to know if there's any immediate disqualifiers. Okay, and this next question is really 9 questions put into one. I always like to ask, what are your professional goals over the next 1, 3, and 5 years? And then I focus on the next year, and then the next 3 years, the next 5 years. And then I'm taking notes as we go. Okay, financially, how much money do you want to make? And what are your financial goals over the next 1, 3, and 5 years? And then I ask, okay, now work aside, personally, what do you want to achieve over the next 1, 3, and 5 years? So once I ask those questions, I document all the responses, and I use that as information for me to use when I sell them on the opportunity to work for us. If I know that they want to be an agency owner, that's an angle I'm going to take. If this person doesn't care about being an agency owner, I won't even make a big point out of that. I'll just focus on how they can grow within the agency. So this particular question can take 20, 30 minutes alone. Okay. And then we dive into the job itself. I say, now, before we get into the job description, position overview, what questions do you have for me about the company, position that you applied for? Okay, those are my questions and my process for an in-office interview. Generally, my in-office interviews people that I don't like are less than 20 minutes. People who I do like are about an hour. And these last couple of questions is really what takes the most amount of time. Okay, so that's the third part, is selling completing the series of structured interviews. The last part is selling the candidate on the opportunity to work for you. This, Jeff, I feel like is where agents need help just as much as this second part, sourcing. I think the number one issue agents have with why they can't hire, the number one issue is they don't have enough applicants. They need to have at least 100 applicants. So everybody who's on this call, if you just walk away with one big takeaway, post your job on Ideal Traits, sponsor on Indeed, make the job compelling, you'll get 100 applicants. That's half the battle. The second half of the battle is, once you do have someone that you want to hire, you got to be really good at explaining what makes your agency different. I'll give you a couple of things to consider here. We have a video that we send out, and we also go over this in person, going over the 5 reasons. I always tell everybody we have the best compensation plan in the area, and we also put that in the job post. You won't find a better compensation plan when it comes to base, commissions, incentives. So without even giving the exact numbers in a phone interview, that's something I like to say, is we have the best compensation plan. Doesn't mean we're going to have to pay the highest base. They can make up that difference through commissions, but you got to have a really strong compensation plan. Number 2 is culture. I talk about how we don't settle for B and C players. We only hire A players, the cream of the crop, the best of the best. So if you're just looking to have a 9 to 5 where you can show up, do the job, leave, and not really improve, this is not going to be a place for you. We are looking for people who are intrinsically motivated to succeed at a high level. We want people to come in and not just want to stay stagnant in the role, but continue to improve. So that's our culture. Career growth opportunities. We don't want people to stay in the same position. You can take a leadership position within our agency over time as you prove yourself. And also you can open up your own agency, which is something we can help you with. So we talk about our career growth. And that's one of the most important parts of what people are looking for, is career growth opportunities. And then work-life balance. That cannot be dismissed. Jeff, of all the things that you think excited me about going from Best Buy, my retail job, to going into insurance, what do you think mattered most to me at that time?
Work-life balance for your family.
More specifically, I just wanted more control over my hours. So you're right. I didn't want to work less. I just wanted to have more control. I worked more once I got into insurance, because at retail, they cut your hours off where they say, come in at this time, you can stay late, but then you have to manage hours. So that's something that I emphasize with anyone who's in retail, who works weekend jobs
or dealerships.
It's like, if you're talking to someone, Jeff, who's making $10,000 a month working at a dealership, what hours do you think they're generally working? How many hours do you think they're working?
Over 70.
So you're not actually making
what are you making per hour at that point?
Right. You're not making 10,000 a month with one job. You're basically doing, I don't know, 5,000 a month doing 2 jobs. You can make more with our agency working less. Your income per hour is going to be much, much higher. Okay. Donna is asking, can I show the in-person interview questions? And what do you offer under career growth? Okay. Great questions. Jeff, if you can jot those down in the
Q&A,
I'll make
I definitely
sure
want to go from the top. I got all of them here.
Yep.
We don't want to cut anyone off.
And this one right here is huge. Safe and stable industry. So over the last few years, obviously with the pandemic that happened, people lost their jobs, whole industries were wiped out. So one thing that I always stress in our interviews is that when it comes to our industry, yes, there's ups and downs, but it's a very safe and stable industry. And that's not something we can just assume that people will know. It's something that I stress. Okay.
How do we remember this? SW and the 3 C's?
3 C's. 3 C's: compensation, culture, career growth. And then come up with an acronym for these 2.
Exactly. Super important though. And I mean, reviews online. And let me know when you're ready for the first question, because it does have to do with, I feel like.
Let's take it right now.
Well, he mentioned he just does interviews like Skype or on Zoom, right? And there's benefits to that, but he doesn't bring them in the office, and it's not for necessarily a remote position. It could be. I mean, they work at least 90 days in the office if they're licensed, and then they can talk about possibly going remote. But my takeaway on it is, if you feel like you have a good location, a good staff, and there's things to show off about your agency, I definitely would bring them in for face-to-face. And the interview can be more effective that way as well. I'd love to hear your take though, Vlad, on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like first doing a phone interview before a Zoom call, because I want to see what they sound like on the phone. Because a lot of people can sell themselves in person, but they're terrible on the phone. So I want to see what they sound like on the phone. The second interview, is fine if you do it through Zoom. They might be at work during that time. We do a lot of Zoom calls as well. But before we officially offer the job, we want to bring the person in so they can see the office.
Yeah.
We can meet them in person, make sure that everything checks out. And over time, the bigger your team becomes and the more A players you have, that will be a selling point to a lot of people. Like when people walk into the agency and they look around, they see a lot of people just like themselves. That's a selling point without me even having to say anything.
100%.
Cool. Someone asked about the career growth opportunities. The big thing that I stress and for people who are coming on board is that, look, you can either advance and become an agency owner, and we'll help you with that process. But besides that, we will help you mature into a leadership position. You can become a leader in our agency and lead a group of salespeople or CSRs if you're in that department, if you're the right fit. And a lot of people are looking for not just managing people, but sometimes just being given more responsibilities and knowing that they're not just going to be answering calls for forever and ever, but they're going to be given more. Okay. So
and then I was just going to say that there was a question about, and this might be a slide before, do you find that most people have answers to those questions for 1, 3, and 5? I think that was, I want to say 4 slides ago.
Yeah, 1, 3, and 5. So personal, professional, financial. A lot of people don't get asked questions that directly. So a lot of people have to sit back and think for a moment on their real answers. So most people have never broken it up in that detail.
And what's your cutoff point there? So let's say, because you mentioned if they're looking for just a temporary job, I mean, yeah, 3 months, 6 months from now, they want to work there for that long. No, but let's say they want to be an owner of an agency in a year or 2, or they want to go to medical sales 2 years from now. Are you willing to train them and have an agreement that they work there for 2 years? What's your thoughts on that?
I would take someone who wants to be an agency owner 10 out of 10 times.
Okay.
Like that, even if they want to be an agency owner in less than 6 months, they'll end up being with me longer, but that I'll take. But if someone who wants to do medical sales, then I know I'm just a pit stop for them. Even though they might say I'll be with you for at least 2 years, they're going to leave the moment. Like I don't want someone who's half in, half out.
Gotcha.
I want to share a couple of resources with you guys, and then we'll go back to the questions. 3 things I'm going to share. If you want to drop them in the chat, Jeff, that'd be awesome. So one is the ChatGPT prompts. So I showed you guys a couple of prompts on how to create certain things. There are other things that you can do in there where you can have it write service emails for you. Like I have a lot of prompts in there that you can just copy and paste and put into your put in your agency. So there's a whole training that I did on that. If you go to insurancesaleslab.com/chatgpt, you can use those prompts. So like just to bring this point home, for those who are on this call, you're going to like this. Write a email to a client who missed in our insurance agency, who missed their payment, and tell them that if they don't pay by the end of the month, then their policy will cancel. Okay, that's all I told it to do. Let's see what it comes up with. There you go. Here's your email. You can say add urgency to this email. This urgent notice regarding your insurance policies. Our records show that your payments for the month of April has not been received, and the payment was due on April 1st. We understand unforeseen circumstances. Okay, so all this good. We can't stress enough how crucial it is to keep your policy in good standing. Tell them they can come in, or they can call us, or make their payment online. So it'll continue to refine your post or your template. And then you can say, convert this to a text message. There you go. So really cool tool if you know how to use it. I've come up with a lot of prompts. You can download them for free. Just go to insuranceSalesLab.com/chatGPT. Also, in the next couple of months, I'll be hosting a 1-day in-person training. It is the most popular training that I do, which is on my 6-step script, the one called Close. This is the script that I personally created to write over 150 policies per month. There's thousands of agencies all across the nation that use it. If you go to insurancesaleslab.com/bootcamp.
So I just threw it in the chat, and I think Troy was just asking now, because you have multiple areas of where they can, where the closest location is to them.
Right. So Troy, there are 12 different locations that we're going to be hosting this. We're going to have Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis, Minneapolis, Oklahoma, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Phoenix, LA, San Francisco. And look, if your city's not on here, I would travel. A lot of people are flying to these events. It's a 1-day event where you will come back knowing the entire 6-step script of the one called Close. You're going to get a workbook. We've been doing these events for a long time, and I've always had a money back guarantee, and never, not a single time did anyone ask for their money back. In fact, people have said it's worth much more than that. Looks like Guillermo has already signed up for the San Antonio event. That's great.
See you there, Guillermo.
Yep. Okay. So that is.
They want you to visit the East Coast.
I know. Well, I'm in Atlanta. That's the East Coast, right?
I don't know if they consider that the East Coast.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then also, if you want to see a sneak peek of my sales process, go to insurancetrainingwebinar.com. Again, free webinar, about 60 minutes, where I break down my entire sales process. So those are free resources that you can use right away. Jeff, let's go back to the questions that you saw, and I'd be happy to address them right now.
Perfect. All right. So this is, would you mind sharing the in-person interview questions again? Can we go back to that? And then while it's loading, okay, so we got that there. Vlad, I know you're more in person. I can't remember, have you tried remote, or do you have any remote employees right now?
We do have one remote person, but that's someone who initially started off as an in-office person, but he relocated to another state. So we just kept him on as remotes. And for the right person, we'll make an exception. We just had someone reach out to us recently, looking to become an agent, and like someone who isn't sure where exactly they're going to land, but this person knows that they want to be in insurance. They've already made a decision. Someone like that, I'll bring on as a remote person. But someone who doesn't have any insurance experience, who doesn't, like, even if they have sales experience, but they don't have insurance experience at this point, I'm not taking on that risk, because the learning curve is going to be too steep, teaching them all this insurance language. But if they have experience with our company, Farmers, then that makes it that much easier.
Cool. And then they asked with a friendly emoji if you'd be willing to share the job description, or, and I know you did you pull up a slide of your job description, or was that just Chat GPT?
I can show you guys mine.
Yeah.
Let me do that, but don't copy it verbatim, please. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. I think we just pulled it down, and we're going to repost it, because we do that every week. We just did that earlier today. But the sales one is pretty similar. So immediate opening, a little description of who we are, our culture, our compensation, our career growth, frequently asked questions. What kind of training will I receive? What's the culture like? What's going to be my career growth? We go over benefits. See that? That's not good. I don't know what happened there. Responsibilities, qualifications.
That's how we look at it.
Yep. And then a little bit about farmers. So this has worked really, really well for us.
Good.
So you can look for my last name in Irving, Texas.
And then do you mind sharing just going to A, B, and C candidate slide?
Yes, absolutely. So the very beginning of the call, right there. Cool. I want to hear from the group here. We still have quite a few people on the call. What was your biggest takeaway from today's training? What are you most excited to implement? Let me know in the chat. What are you most looking forward to implementing? And then I want to share something real quick before we wrap up that I think will be really helpful for everyone here.
Three-step interview process. Do not settle for less than a applicant. Chat GPT, I'm with you on the Chat GPT. Writing a compelling job post and using my new IdealTraits platform. Danielle did sign up today. I'm excited for her. Updating my phone interview and creating a compelling job post. Perfect. Tyrone, it's a numbers game and at least 100 applicants a month. Absolutely. Interview questions and vetting. Troy goes, this has all been helpful.
Okay, awesome. Was this worth your time? I want, just be honest. Was this worth your time? Did you get what you were looking for in this call? Okay, yeah, you guys who have been on my webinars before, you know I don't like to be surface level. I want to be very practical and show you real things that are working. Look, I don't want you to feel like I'm selling you anything, but I will stress this, that if you're not registered for one of our in-person events, I highly recommend that you do that, because by attending one of our in-person sales training events, you will come back with a really good sales process that you can just implement in your agency and write a lot more business. And when you talk to candidates who you're interviewing, you can tell them, look, we have a really good sales training platform that we give to our team members that they can study and learn. So that's a selling point that we use in our agencies, that we give you all the leads and we give you top-notch sales training, which is not something you're going to get in other places. So if you have not yet registered for the in-person bootcamp, go to insurancesaleslab.com/bootcamp to do that today. We do have a special going right now where if you buy 2 tickets, you get the third one free. And there's really no downside, absolutely no downside to you, because if you don't feel like it was worth 10 times the investment, we'll give you your money back. Okay, Jeff, thank you for organizing this. I appreciate it. To everyone who was on this call, let us know.
Recording will be sent out, but the question about boot camp real quick, will the boot camp be for agency owners or for LSPs as well? Yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah,
Bring the
everybody.
producers.
Yep, agency owners, LSPs, everybody.
And I don't know if anyone went to Insurance Growth Conference. I will say, and it's not just because Vlad's on this call with me today, I've been to over 200 events in my life. I love events. So I'm a little biased on that. I'd rather do be at an event than on a webinar, but Vlad's, it was his first one. And it was probably the best one I've been to in the last 3 years, because he had great speakers there. There's a ton of energy, ton of great content that you like, take home content that you can bring home. And it was fun. So I'm really excited that we're going to multiple different cities this time. And that way it'll be more intimate instead of 500 people at an event. I think Vlad, you're probably limited to 100 at each location or something like that. So I'm excited. I hope everyone checks out their nearest spot. And if you have any questions, if you reach out to me, I can direct you to one of Vlad's representatives or direct you to Vlad if he has time too. We'd love to get your feedback, answer any questions you have on that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate that feedback. All right, folks, have a great rest of your day. If you are not yet signed up with Ideal Traits, make sure to reach out to Jeff. Thank you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.